My darlings, welcome to the Comedy and Custody podcast. I'm Sasha Frank.
And I'm Nebulous Nyang.
And we're at Melbourne.
Yeah.
We are at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
MICF 2025.
2025. How's it been so far?
It's, not only my first time at the comedy festival, it's my first time in Melbourne. And I love the place. It's so, there's like this like buzzy vibe in the air, and like people are cool. They're like good looking. There's like croissants. That's all I need. Croissants and comedy.
Croissants and comedy. Welcome to the Croissants and Comedy podcast. Okay. See, I feel like Singaporeans love Melbourne because it's very much, I don't know if I would say the opposite to Singapore, but there's a lot of Singaporeans here.
Yeah.
And you have very different weather. So it's still pleasant, but it's cold. Now, as a Brit, it's too cold for me. If I travel somewhere, I want to be hotter than when I started. Okay, that's how it works. And now I live in Singapore, that still stands as true. I got a little bit more appreciation now for colder weather, but this is cold. I didn't pack enough.
Well, the Australians say it's actually it's only autumn for them. It's not even winter.
No, I know. Every time I've been to Melbourne, it's been cold. I mean, I always come for the comedy festival.
Which
April.
is in April.
Yeah, and it's always cold. It's always too cold. And I start off okay during the day, like the sun's out, it's lovely. And then in the evenings when I'm going to shows, I'm so cold. And you're like in basements of places, so like there's no heat. Sorry, we're talking about the weather, how very British.
It's interesting.
Have you seen some shows since you've been here?
I have. Well, I haven't been here that long, but yesterday I watched this show. It was by this lesbian comedian called Hannah Malarski. I guess we could tag her.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like it was just like a mix of like comedy and like she sings so well and she dances, and then like there's the door bitch who you think is just a door bitch and turns out it's her girlfriend who she also brings on stage to like sing, and it's just amazing. It was like she did the alphabets of the lesbian alphabet, the gay ABCs, and she like sang. There was like a video. People ended up in like chicken costumes and nun outfits. Like it was just like it's like amazing. This is why I've come to Australia.
Okay,
to see like beatboxing. Yep, chickens and beatboxing nuns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that's why that's how they advertise it. Come to Australia, we've got beatboxing nuns. I think they're actually going to phase out the kangaroos and replace them entirely.
It's easier, right? Like chickens are easier than kangaroos.
Well, I was thinking the beatboxing nuns.
Oh, but easier than
kangaroos.
That would make more sense.
I think it's time for a freshen up.
Yeah.
Of the look. Okay, because I've not sadly haven't had a chance to see anything.
Because you've been busy with your own show.
Have been busy with Never Date a Comedian, which was really fun, and we had you on the show last night, which was so
fun.
Really fun, and we had such a lovely audience last night, which was really nice.
And you have a nice venue.
Have a lovely venue, Brumanity, over in South Melbourne. So it's good. It's good fun. Because I run it all over the world, I get different comedians each time, so every show is different. For those that don't know, it is a show of where we have a lineup of single comedians. They're genuinely single, and they compete to win a date with an audience member. And it's called Never Date a Comedian. But people maybe should date a comedian. What do you think? Come to the show and date a comedian. Because we talked about this on stage last night.
Yeah.
We talked about why you should never date a comedian. And part of it is that your stories will make it into
the news. Into the public domain.
Into the public domain. Yeah, into their sets. And
why you should never come on our podcast.
Yes, absolutely. But that's very true, because one of the questions that we asked to our comedians last night is to tell the audience why you should never date a comedian. And I think it's always really kind of interesting to hear people's answers when they're genuine. We talk about like our schedules suck.
Yeah. Also, my answer was that you end up as the door bitch or as the lighting tech.
Which is because
100% true.
That is 100% true. My boyfriend was there as the door bitch and the lighting tech.
But he was good looking, so it's fine.
He is good looking, so it's fine. That's.
But also a waste, because like he's in the dark.
He's
like backstage. He should just be sitting on stage. Like,
just looking beautiful
and not saying a thing.
Oh, I will ask him if he's interested in doing that. Maybe I'll switch him out with me. Maybe he should be on the stage and I should be the door bitch. But at least to make it fair for the audience.
Just to be fair.
Yeah,
because they paid good money for the show.
They paid good money for the show. They should get to see his face.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it should just be like a backdrop. Like the backdrop should just be
I should have his face projected onto the thing. Do you know what? I don't know why I've never thought of that. It's really
You're
obvious
welcome,
now.
you're
Maybe I
welcome.
don't need to do the show at all. Maybe we just project his face. We just project his face, and people pay $30 a ticket, and they get to sit for an hour. Oh, luckily that.
I would pay for the lesbian version of that.
Would you? Who would
Yeah,
you
I would.
have?
Yeah, I
Who
would.
would
It's
be
basically
your...
why we watch Kate Blanchett in movies.
Mm.
Well, okay, she's a great actress. It's why we watch Gal Gadot in movies.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. What? Who? So that would be your person, or Kate Blanchett? She's
Well, because Kate Blanchett is not only beautiful and she's also Australian. She's very talented. Like she's
Yeah.
one of the greatest actresses of her generation.
yes.
And I'm thinking like on the other hand, there's like Gal Gadot.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Gadot or Gadot?
Gadot
Gadot.
with a T.
So like Gal Gadot
Gadot,
is one of my
yeah.
wives, and like you know
Oh, she's one of your wives?
She is. Did
Okay.
you not know?
I didn't.
My
I haven't.
Israeli wife.
Yeah. Okay.
I have one in every country.
As you should.
They just sometimes they don't know.
Why do they need to know? That's
They
not
don't.
their,
It's
not their business.
There's never. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It's just how I like things to be. I don't
Okay.
like it when they know. And so
Yeah.
Gal Gadot is my wife, and like I watch Gal Gadot's movies. You know, basically same reason why you would put your boyfriend's face on a.
We can name him. I think
We
it's
can?
okay. Can we? I don't know.
But there are lots of Tims.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Well, what we'll do is we'll ask him when he gets back.
We'll disguise his name. It could be like the
Ah.
opposite, like Mitt.
Ah,
We'll call
that's
him Mitt.
Mitts, and then nobody will know. Well, we'll ask him because
Yeah.
he genuinely might not want his name. In which case, we will have our lovely
We'll
editor
censor it.
censor it
censor
out.
Beep.
So if you hear the beep,
I can just say the beep.
Oh, okay. Well, you
Every time you say his name accidentally, I'll be
Maybe-
like beep.
Maybe you could just be in my life in general, just walk around me and just beep every time I say something I shouldn't say.
That works because I'm a robot.
Yeah. Oh, you
Remember?
do sound like a robot. But
I'm
yeah,
very good.
we may.
I'm
do.
multifunctional.
Sometimes. It's, so yeah, so we're in Melbourne. We're
Right,
in
that was
Melbourne.
the
We will be running the show as planned and not having my nameless boyfriend's face just projected onto a screen. We will run Never Date a Comedian, probably. And you're gonna do some spots around Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm gonna do spots and just really just get to know how this place feels. Like get to know some cool comedians, see the venues, the people, the
Okay.
audience. Because I want to bring my show here next year to Australia, to Melbourne, to like other cities. So I just
Okay.
feel like this is me sort of checking out the place.
So that's what I did the first year I came. I
Yeah.
didn't do any shows.
Nice.
And I can't remember if I've already talked about this on
No,
the podcast.
no, you
but
haven't.
I
You
came.
haven't even talked to me.
Oh, so the first time I came to the Melbourne Comedy Festival, I came by accident.
How?
Okay, so it was very early in my comedy career as such. And I think my daughter was with my ex-husband for Easter, and I wanted to go away that weekend. And I was in the real throes of being obsessed with comedy, as I still am. But right at that beginning of the journey, I was maybe 9 months into it, slightly more. And then I saw that the wonderful Sam C, who we love so much, was coming to Melbourne to do shows. Just that he was going to do shows. And I had just started to get to know him and said, could I come to Melbourne for a few days and just help you out with your shows? And he was like, for sure, of course. And then I saw online the very lovely Fucker Fuzz was also coming to Melbourne. And I was like, what a coincidence. 2 comedians coming to Melbourne at the same time. And I think I probably also messaged him and said I would be there. And then I got to Melbourne and there were all these signs saying like Melbourne International Comedy Festival, or maybe slightly before I came out. And I was like, oh,
that's why.
That's why. Because I think at that point, like comedy festivals hadn't really been on my radar. So it's so ridiculous. And I came to Melbourne, and this is such an important part of my career because Sam very kindly took me into the artist bars, took me to meet people, introduced me as a comic, which I barely was at that point, and was so kind and took me to all these shows with me, gave me, so many opportunities. And it just literally changed the trajectory of my comedy career. And then I came home the night, I flew home and got home on a Tuesday morning, and Comedy Masala runs on a Tuesday night. And I'd never been to Comedy Masala, Asia's most famous comedy night, so it's like the big place to be. And I bought a ticket, even though comics don't have to pay to see it. I was so like, oh my gosh, I must buy a ticket.
Right.
I went in, they let me sit with the comics. It was the first time I ever stepped foot in Comedy Masala, and now I'm the resident host of Comedy Masala, which is so mad. So it's such like an important weekend.
It was
It's like
a trajectory.
pivotal. It's so pivotal.
It's gonna be one of the chapters in the early part of your book.
1,000%, maybe the only chapter. Yeah, so this festival to me means so much. And then I started to formulate this idea of this dating show that I wanted to do called Never Date a Comedian. It was bare bones. And I submitted it to the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And I don't think I gave them a lot of information. I was like, I want to do a thing for single comedians and it's funny. And they didn't reply to, this was the following year. They didn't reply for so long. And I forgot all about it. And then suddenly I got this email like, actually, we'll take the show. You have to find your own venue. It's very last minute, but if you can find one, you can do it. And I barely had, as I say, like the bones of this show. And I looked for a venue and I found a venue called the Grace Darling Hotel, which had availability for the exact nights I wanted. My daughter's name is Grace.
Oh.
So I was like, this is, and I'm not very spiritual, as we know.
Okay.
But I was like, this is in the universe. I have to go and do it.
You have to. It was just made for you.
So this is where Never Date a Comedian was born. I put the show together.
Wait, so Never Date a Comedian is a year old?
It's slightly over a year old because I premiered it in Singapore originally, just to like have a go of it, try and iron out the kinks, and then ran it in Melbourne. But pretty much a year old.
So wait, so this is your third time in Melbourne?
This is my third time.
Oh wow!
Now. Yeah, so this is my third time, and now obviously we've done the show in Perth, Edinburgh, and Vietnam, all sorts of places. So here we are. Sorry, it's a very long story.
No, it's
but
a great
Melbourne's
story.
really close to my heart, and that's why. But it's cold. Yeah, so that's
such a great that's such a great story.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even a story. It's just I think it's all just laid out for you, and it's meant to be, and it can only get better from here.
Yeah, and like I was, there's in places doing spots this week that I was here last year, and my comedy's really different, and my confidence is different, and
yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah, so it's I have a great network of friends here, comedy wise. It's been pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I hope you're going to have also a great week.
I know I will. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I guess I know I'm kind of coming late to this, but also nothing is really late because it's just my own journey and timing. Yeah. And there's a part of me, I have to admit, I do feel like, oh God, like Sasha and I, like we started at the same time, and Sasha's like has her own show and all this, but you know what? That's just like, I just wanted to voice it out because it's like the human part of me. The unfortunate human module, but the rest of me, which is like 85%, which is the robot, I'm like, well, I'm a spiritual robot. I'm a lot of different types of things.
You are.
But I also know this is just my path, and like everything will happen in its time.
See, the reason I'm like gasping at that is because I don't feel that at all, because your show is your hour. My show is not my hour. Mine is a show where I host it, and yes, it's my format. The comedy comes from me and the comics together. It's all off the cuff. I have not come to a fest. I did go to take an hour to Edinburgh just once for one night, but I haven't. I feel like you're further along because you have the hour and it's so structured and it's so ready to go. Whereas I'm still I have an hour, but in terms of it being a show, I don't have that. So it's so funny that we feel that the other way,
So it's just human, right? To
it is
kind of, but also being just normal, humble people.
Your machine learning is coming along really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just normal, humble people. Yeah, I think so, and I do think.
No, I'm so glad that we shared that because I never saw it that way, and no, but I feel like what you do is so amazing because I've seen you develop like as a host, and you make it look so effortless, but it's really hard, like to just like make something out of nothing. And like to make the audience feel welcome and to make the comedians feel also like they can express themselves, but still you're in charge. It was amazing, like seeing you do that last night.
I was reflecting on this in the most humble way. I do reflect. Humans have to reflect. You have to. You'll have the reflection app installed, I'm sure, at some point. But I was reflecting on that because I know I'm doing okay as a host. I can see
Not
that.
Just okay.
And I was just like, what is it though? Is it even a useful skill outside? Like, what is the skill that I have? Like, is it anything that's actually useful in life? Am I just a friendly person?
No, life is comedy.
Well, life is comedy. There we go. Life is comedy. Yeah,
it is useful.
Yeah, I know it probably is.
Not everyone can do it.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm gonna be really cliche, as an artist, is it an artistic skill, really, or am I just essentially a salesperson?
No, it's like, I think it's a type of improv.
Yeah, okay, I agree with
it's
that.
a type of improv, and I think people appreciate that it is difficult, and I think there's a part of the audience which looks at they know that, oh, Sasha's in this spot now, like that person has said this, and so what's she gonna say? Like they can, the audience is smart.
Yeah,
I know a lot of comedians blame the audience when they're not getting laughs, like stupid audience, but the audience is smart, and they can see like, oh, wow, this host is so skillful. She just like took that and she made it funny out of nothing. And I think people do give credit for that.
That's good to know. And I guess it is improv. I started in improv and I love improv. And so yeah, okay, well that's good. Thanks. But what have you got? You've got more shows that you're going to go see?
So yeah, I'm definitely gonna see shows. I think what I really like about the Melbourne scene is just a number of lesbian or like queer women comics.
Yes.
So there's not as much of that kind of representation in the Singapore scene, or even just in Singapore in general, right?
Yeah.
Like Melbourne's just like the gayest place, and I love that. Like I never knew I needed it.
Okay, yeah, that's so interesting.
Because I remember when I was researching which shows to check out while I'm here, I was trying to search like lesbian comedians, Australia, Melbourne festival, blah blah blah, and very few of the lesbian comedians even advertise that. It's not something you can even search for, because it's just like it's a secondary thing.
Okay.
So you just kind of have to surmise that they are lesbian.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that they put out there, because it's just nothing, which is how it should be.
What's the lexicon? What's your programming scanning for when you
what's your
algorithm? Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's the picture.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can just kind of tell from looking at someone.
Okay.
You just can, like the hairstyle, like the dressing.
Okay.
And
okay.
various, topics. Usually they're very obsessed about one thing. Like it could be like birds, or it could be like, well, it's usually nature.
Okay. Fair.
I think it's just a lesbian thing.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, or like, being strong, independent women. And then usually there's a divorce. Well, sometimes the divorced women are straight, but I don't know who's to know.
Okay.
So yeah, and I want to get to that place where I don't have to, like, the joke which I make on stage, which is like, welcome Nebulous Nyang. She's Singapore's biggest lesbian.
Yes.
And I think it is a joke, but it's also kind of sad that I have to sell it that way.
Have you ever tried not? Just
Well, it's been my thing so far, because then it immediately tells the audience that, this is what I'm gonna riff on. Okay. And then I get to talk about like the differences between how LGBTQ people are treated in Singapore versus Australia, legally, socially. I can riff on that, because because I feel like people always kind of feel a bit shit about their own country. Yeah. So then when I come here, like, and then I tell the lesbians, hey, actually, it'd be really nice if we had what you had here in Singapore. And then, oh, you're right. Well, maybe they don't think that, but in that few 5 to 10 minutes, I get to have something to contrast.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I obviously I know your comedy well, and I think it works whether you say it or not. That's but yeah, I guess here Melbourne is very, very diverse and woke. I'm not using woke in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way. And it's amazing to see like the diversity and the acceptance. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the comedy scene, really. And obviously there are struggles in inverted commas with being a minority in any way in comedy and in most industries, right? Whether LGBT, whether a woman, person of color, etc. But I do find that when it comes down to it, like you go to the artist bars in the evenings and you see who's hanging out, everybody is friends to some extent. There is a mutual respect.
But with the undercurrent of hatred and resentment.
I don't have the undercurrent of hate. Am I supposed to hate and resent every... Wait, hold on. It's I don't know, I always like that. It always gives me a bit of a smile of like, the groups of people that are together in the same room. Yes, obviously there is a heavy bias towards it being men, as is the industry, but yeah, I don't know, it's just something I observe. I remember seeing a comedian that I always thought of as a very blokey bloke,
Mm-hmm.
to use the British phrase, write a review of I'm gonna have a mind blank. Amazing, I think transgender comic who's really well known and is no doubt here, and I will look it up and mention their name on the next podcast, and just wrote about how amazing this comic that I know wrote about how amazing this show was, and I just like got me. I was like, wow, that's so cool, because I would never have thought you would go and see somebody who wasn't your demographic and appreciate the show so much and appreciate it as art, and I really love that.
No, I like what you said, because I was also reflecting.
You've been upgraded. I thought you were quiet.
That was the spinning circle.
Yeah.
I think comedy is a lot about breaking boundaries and stereotypes, and even personal ones, because like I did feel some kind of insecurity, not only so there's how many layers of like not normal you are, right? So there's like being a female comedian is one thing, and then there's being like a sexual minorities, like being a lesbian comedian, and then another thing which I feel is like being not white, because I feel like comedy very much started out also as a white thing, and like it's okay, I don't mean this in any kind of like biased way, it's just an observation, because robots observe.
Yes,
but like it did start in like Western countries, and a lot of basically white people expressing themselves, which is what white people are good at.
Yeah.
And I guess just growing up in Asia, I also had my own kind of like cultural bias and indoctrination, even if it wasn't meant that way, about like white people are like this, and so you should not be like this, you should be like that. And I've had my own struggles with trying to reconcile, because I've always felt this draw towards like the West.
Okay.
Yeah, and so maybe that's why I do this. Maybe that's why we're friends. It was very, very,
it was
it was
meant
approach.
to be. Oh, okay. You were like,
I was like,
white lady. Yes.
Make her love me.
So I do love you. I do.
You so
I do.
succeeded.
That's it. And I'm British, so I very rarely say that stuff.
I love you too. No, but like all jokes aside.
Yeah.
So it's also very much feeling like I'm almost trying to impress the white people.
Okay.
But then the funny thing is, it's actually harder to impress local people than white people. White people are very giving of their expressions, whether it's like laughing or just heckling you.
Yeah.
Whereas the people back home, we're very reserved as an audience. We're not used to like, well, I think when you say make some noise, they will make some noise. But when you ask them questions about themselves, you can tell me as a host, is it easy to get answers?
I think so. You and I have had this conversation. I don't know if you remember this, because I go full force out to the audience, and I sometimes forget that people don't want to talk to the host, and I hope I make it a comfortable environment. Like, I always make sure that I'm kind with it. I'm not there to embarrass anybody, unless they're embarrassed.
And then you ask them if they want to get divorced.
Yeah, and then I did last night. Ask somebody if they wanted to get divorced and have a polyamorous relationship. But you get a sense for whether people are game for being a bit interactive or not. But I will often ask questions to the audience. And in Singapore, people do kind of go very quiet sometimes. Less, I think, because I've honed it thanks to the feedback you gave me, which was like, Sasha,
do not disturb us.
Kind of. You were like, Sasha, you can't go full throttle at people. It's kind of intimidating. And I really took that on board. And now I'm like a bit, I'm more conscious of it. And because the funny thing is, if I went to a comedy show, I wouldn't want to sit in the front row. I wouldn't want the host to talk to me. I would hate it. I don't want to riff with them. Like, leave me alone. But the other way around, I'm like, oh no, let's chat, guys. You're all my friends. So yeah, and we see a lot of comics come from overseas to Singapore, and they perform, and they're like, oh god, I crashed on stage, I died.
It's the toughest crowd they've ever
and I'm
had.
like, you didn't die, you did amazing. You did not bomb. And you can almost see people lose confidence while they're on stage because they're not getting the feedback they're used to. And I wish I could like telepathically be like, no, you're doing good. I can see the crowd, everyone's smiling. It's just that people are
reserved,
inherently more reserved.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, which is, every culture is different. That is kind of, we should see differences in cultures because we all have different upbringings.
Well, maybe it's a good thing that we started off in Singapore then, or like somewhere in Asia, because that's the most, probably the worst crowd you're gonna get.
I mean, I did.
Do you find that to be true?
One of the first overseas shows I did was in Oakland in California, which is the loudest, coolest place. People are the opposite, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking loud, whooping,
Whoa.
standing up, and I was just like, oh my gosh. It was a pretty incredible experience. But, you know, there's also something to love about a quieter crowd that give you everything they can give you. And, you know, that's its own reward. And then you come somewhere like this and it's, you know, different again.
Yeah, look, tell me how do you know, is there anything you notice about the Australian
The
audience?
Australians are the toughest crowd.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. For me,
How
I think so. Somebody told me, and I apologize, Australians, if this isn't true. I was just going on what someone told me, that there is a bit of a culture of like, don't get above your station.
Well, that's the British
Here.
culture, right?
No, I don't know. I think British culture is slightly more polite, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to reflect on that.
Okay.
I think, but apparently that is a bit of that. I don't know if this is true. Another comedian told me this. You know, there is this like, you're up on stage, you're a bit above your station. Prove yourself to us, mate. Like, don't think we love you just because you're up there. You show us what you've got. And I think if that's true, and I don't know that I'm ever conscious of it when I'm on stage because I'm too busy thinking about my comedy, maybe it's that. Maybe it's just that I am better with Singaporean crowds or American crowds or English crowds. I don't know. I mean, I do well here, and I have, you know, the audiences are a lot. Like, wasn't last night's audience so fantastic?
They were so good.
I love the audiences here. Amazing. Just harder, I think, to impress.
I think maybe one issue is like how the audience perceives themselves as part of the show. Because I think in Singapore, we're very passive that way.
Yeah.
We're like, you know, we're used to paying to watch a movie or like, you know, watch I don't know, a violin orchestra performance.
Yeah.
You know, but we're not used to like, wait, now I'm part of it. Like, I have to respond. Like, what? I paid good money and I have to work.
And I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. So I think it's just a perception thing. So maybe it's just like the audience needs to kind of get on board at the start. Because I feel like in Singapore, you always have to say like, hey, you know, so how comedy works is like the comedians, you know, need your energy. Yeah. And then the whole night will be better if like it's a mutual thing.
Yeah, because it's newer. Comedy as a concept is newer.
Right. Or maybe they're just used to like watching a Netflix special. Yeah. You know, on the phone. Yeah. And then now you're like, hey, look, I can see you.
Yeah. And I'm going to interact with you.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of like education.
Maybe it will take time, and it's.
So now we're also teachers.
So much wisdom. On that note, we are actually at our full allocated amount of time for this podcast.
Oh, really?
This has been so interesting. I mean, to us, you guys have your own perception of it.
They have their laundry to do.
Yeah,
it's just about done.
Yeah, but I have been so interested in hearing what you've said and in having this conversation.
Me too.
We have run out of time, guys. This has been the Comedy and Custody podcast. I've been Sasha Frank.
I've been Nebulous Nyang.
Have a great week.
See ya.